So I'm excited for Devin Townsend's latest album coming out in the end of this month, and to kind of bring up some buzz for me, I decided to look back at some of my favorite albums from him, and I decided to mirror pretty much how he released these two albums. He released Deconstruction and Ghost pretty much on the same day, and the two albums could not be any more different. So much like those albums, I decided to review both of them and release them on the same day. So hey, 2-for-1 deal, just for you. So let's dive into this particular album.
Oh yeah, no, I'm ready. I got my special Saving the World boots on.
Save the world, you fool, you child.
Deconstruction by the Devin Townsend Project. So Devin Townsend has released a plethora of music, and for a lot of them, they kind of have different streams of how he's released them in different kind of identities. He's released them as the Devin Townsend Project, the Devin Townsend Band, just as Devin Townsend. And with the Devin Townsend Project, originally it was going to be like 4 albums that kind of dove more deeper into one facet of his musical presentation. And so where Ghost was very airy and very I guess atmospheric, very personal, Deconstruction is not that. Like, these two albums could not be any different. They definitely take two different aspects and facets from Devin and really like push it to its extreme. And within Deconstruction, it is that technical brutality metal. A lot of these songs are overly rigid in being that technicality aspect of it. Like, for instance, Jugular is so rigid in like keeping that beat that it's almost like it almost grates me a little too much. Like, the drumming is so clockwork, it gets right into my head, and it does not let go. But this is what I love about Devin Townsend. Like, most of the time I'll listen to Ghost and go straight into Deconstruction because it's so opposite that I love that build, and I love coming into Deconstruction. Deconstruction is really like taking a look at one thing and deconstructing it to its source, and that's kind of from that title track of Deconstruction, which I'll go right on the record right now and say it's probably one of my favorite tracks from Devin Townsend. Easily my favorite track off of this whole album. In each track, there's a moment that just makes me melt. All of these things that have been swarming around your head have come together to create that picture that had been going on. And it's when that picture becomes into full focus that you're like, I get it now. That is amazing. But it's only in your like vision for about 3 or 4 seconds before it all falls apart again. And that's a very great metaphor for this entire album as well. Like, right when we get to Deconstruction and you hit that big climax, we get Poltergeist, which is one of the most intense songs off of the album, where it's just like you can see all the pieces from the picture that Deconstruction had made just fall apart. And that's like the opening line of "Now we fall apart at the seams." And the other thing that I really like about this album is all the guest appearances that we have on here. We have Michael Eichelfeld from Opeth on Stand. Then we also have Tommy Rogers from Between the Buried and Me coming in on Planet of the Apes, and Planet of the Apes just rips you apart. And so when Tommy comes in with his bombastic singing style, it just hits you like, then we have 2 vocalists, and I'm not actually familiar with them. John Duplaniter and Paul Matthefist. Probably butchered those ones. We also have Greg Puciato? I know that he's probably pretty big, and I know he's let me actually just research that right now. The Dillinger Escape Plan, and The Killer Be Killed, and Black Queen. Okay, so I don't actually know any of these bands. He's on the Mighty Masturbator, so let's take a little bit of time to talk about the Mighty Masturbator, because I think it might be his longest song. I could be wrong, but where this song goes, holy jeez. Like, I love how it starts off with like Devin's really quick finger picking style that he's done in the past, and this is another reason why I love Devin. Just having that flourish and that and like really like relaying that over and over and over again. And then we get like a really hard hitting, and then we go into like this almost dance studio, and then we get into like the circus. Like, this thing goes and goes and goes, and you're like, oh geez. Yeah, I think the other ones that we have, I think, is on number 8 with Deconstruction of Dave Brockie. All of these guest appearances really enhance the track and doesn't feel like it's kind of a gimmick or like a crutch. Each one comes in, brings their own personality to the song, and it really kind of shows what this album is all about, because it is really about like taking your brain, putting it into a blender and deconstructing it. Even though I think Ghost kind of does that a little bit better in terms of like deconstructing what music is all about. Like this is very, very rigid, and Ghost is much more explorative. So yeah, where this is kind of like raging against a system, which is odd because this is so systematic and so thought out. Ghost is much more of a whatever, man, just let it flow. So I love that little duality there. Samaria, Pandemic, and Poltergeist. Those are the only 3 tracks that don't hit me quite as hard, even though they all have those moments where I'm like, okay, I get this song now. They also don't really provide a great meaty comeback. I wouldn't want to shave anything off of this album. This album is exactly as long as it needs to be. It needs to be this long to have so much analyzed within it, even if there's so much rigidity within it. So yeah, love this album. Holy jeez, if you want something to really tear you apart in terms of like really brutal metal, because I don't think, I can't honestly think an album that is as heavy as this. Like even Ziltoid the Omniscient, the first one, it had a lot of really heavy parts, but this album has those really heavy elements, but also kind of brought to the next level with so many different kind of rearrangements and programming. Like this album has 2 different drummers just to fill in those spots. And I probably like this album a little bit better than Ghost, only because of those like standout moments, and I wouldn't want to cut anything away. Whereas with Ghost, even though like I love these albums with the same amount of energy, I feel like Ghost by the end, I'm kind of like ready to get into Deconstruction. So yeah, like right after I finish listening to Ghost, I go straight into Deconstruction. There's a baton pass that you can definitely feel on that. So yeah, love it. And you know what? At the end of the day, I have no problem saying that Deconstruction by the Devin Townsend Project is an absolute masterpiece. Because yeah, when I want something hard, I want something hard, and Deconstruction gives that to me. That's about it for Deconstruction by the Devin Townsend Project. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know of all that by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.